So what's going on, guys? I am super excited for this episode, mainly because we are building the turbo kit for the Miata. You guys got a little sneak peek last video of what had came in, and today I'm receiving some more stuff. So we don't have the engine inside the Miata right now, but I have it sitting over here. I just need to put the harmonic balancer and water pump on, and then we could go ahead and slap it inside, so that will give us everything that we need for clearance to get the turbo kit fabricated. So let me go ahead and stop rambling and let's jump right into it. Okay, so the engine's sitting inside the car. I have a wooden block wedged back there just to simulate the transmission holding it up. Water pump's on, harmonic balancer is fully seated. So now I whipped up this little bracket right here for the intercooler. So this thing just sits right here underneath the headlights. If I could get it, it's being stubborn. So it's going to sit something like that. And then I'll show you guys what it looks like with the intercooler bolted on, but I'm thinking that the turbo is going to go somewhere right in this area because I have a 4-inch exhaust coming off of it, and then I'm going to narrow it down to a 3-inch and try to squeeze it up underneath the alternator where the previous exhaust was, but the previous exhaust was 2.5-inch. So I have a turn down, like one of those electric cutouts, that's going to go hopefully right in between here. I believe there's barely enough space. Let's look real quick. So from the balancer to the sway bar is about 4.5. So that means I have a 1/4 inch on each side, which is sketchy. So what I might do is run it along the top of this and then dump it right down here and then feed it back. I don't know. We'll figure something out. So let me go ahead and grab the intercooler, get it mocked up, and we can start playing with the turbo fitment. The intercooler is on. I'm going to bolt it on right here and here, so I have to build like a little tab that comes over here and connects right there. Same thing on this side, right there and right there. So that way this whole thing can be removed. And then, yeah, now we get to start to try to fit this thing. So it's going to be super hard to do with one hand, so I'm just going to play with it for a little bit and show you guys what I come up with. Alrighty, so I've been working pretty hard at it. I don't have the T4 flange yet, so I can't really do anything about the exhaust, but yeah, it's coming together fairly well. So I'll go ahead and give you guys a rundown of it. I don't know if the turbo is going to be able to breathe, even though it's 2.5 fingers, but yeah, if someone could let me know, that would be fantastic. But starting at the turbo, it comes down right here and connects to a small 90 with a 90-degree coupler. Then I have a modified large 90, and what I mean by that is I cut off one side of it to where it's really small on one side and it has the extra length on the other side to push it over there, so we could get the tire clearance to where it's not going to hit this charge pipe. Then we come to a straight coupler to a small 90 to another straight coupler all the way across the intercooler, and it's pretty much duplicated on this side. So we come up right here, there's where it comes in front of the sway bar, and then I need a 45-degree coupler that will feed it up to the intake. And I also have a 4-inch to 3-inch intake coming as well. Now for the exhaust, if I could find my tape measure, I told you that I had the electric dump on the way, and it's roughly 10 inches long, and I could possibly cut it down to 9 inches. So if we measure that out where it's going to seat, there's the 10-inch mark, has plenty of clearance for the charge pipe. which it's also going to be wrapped, so the heat should stay inside of it. And if I could get down to 9 inches, that would be even better. And I'll just have it turned down to the ground right down here. But yeah, I'm super happy with how everything's fitting up, and I'll keep you guys updated when more car parts come. All right, so my phone had died right when I started building this. I had it on a time lapse, and of course it died. So what we have here is the passenger manifold. It's dropping down, comes up, couples to the T4 flange. Then on this side, pretty much the same thing as naturally aspirated. We have the driver's side manifold coming down with a couple of pie cuts, drops down up underneath here, right there behind the alternator, and then it comes along up underneath the sway bar, up and over to the T4 flange right there. So the reason why I have this gap is, I believe I already told you guys, I have a 4-inch electric cutout right here. So the turbo is going to sit right there, and then the 3-inch this thing's going to narrow down to the 3-inch. So the 3-inch exhaust is going to dip down there, and the dump is going to go right over there. So let me go ahead and throw the turbo on this so you guys can get a better understanding. But I'm going to cut off this portion of the flange right there and move it to the straight section right here. So give me a second. Alrighty, here it is with the turbo and the electric cut put on. It has clearance on the charge pipe right there. Exhaust clears the intercooler. And then I thought I was going to dump it down there, but the charge pipe's in the way. So it looks like we're going to have to go with a little hood dump, which I'm fine with it. Yeah, something like that, and then just comes straight out the hood. So overall, everything fits flawlessly. Gotta raise that up a little bit, and then right back here it clears. So yeah, I'm really happy with how everything turned out. So now all I gotta do is start building the exhaust, and then I have a little flex hose that's 2.5 inches. Give me a second. I have a little flex hose that's 2.5 inches that I'm going to cut out this section of the exhaust, so that way everything can move around nice and free. And then also I'm going to V-band both exhaust manifolds. So yeah, that should help out a lot with removal and installation. But that's going to be it for now. I'll pick you guys probably back up tomorrow. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, so I'm going to teach you guys how to save money by building your own lines with AN fittings. For starters, you need your tools. I have power tools and a combination of hand tools as well, because you don't want to damage your fitting like this. It doesn't hurt it, but just makes it look tacky, and when you go to remove it, it might be a little bit harder because the edges are rounded off. But overall, the flared end of where the male fitting goes actually goes inside. So this part isn't damaged, it's just the part that actually seats on the hose. Anyways, moving forward, we have our flared end. It's a male connection. This is a female. The female fitting disconnects into 2 pieces, like so. Now you measure out your line. Right here I have a tape mark. So we're going to peel this off. And make sure you have a nice clean edge to work with, like no extra frays. And then this piece, this fitting, is a reverse thread. So we're going to get it started. And this part, you can actually use a power tool for, because nothing is tightening up. You give it just a little bit of pressure, and you can watch it go onto the line. Just like so. Now it's bottomed out. That part's done. So now we take our second piece and we feed it directly in here. Takes a little bit of pressure. And just keep on turning until you feel it really grab, because what it's doing is expanding the hose inside, tightening it up on the first part we installed, which creates the seal. So once we have that going, we can go ahead and hook up our crescent wrench, and then we need another wrench for this other side. So give me a second. Okay, I got the wrench, and then we just start cranking it down. And there we go. So now this part goes directly into the oil feed fitting for the turbo, and that gets bolted on like so, and we have our line. So yeah, it'll save you quite a bit of money, and you'll get it the perfect length every single time if you do it this way. Alrighty guys, so it's been a few days and I didn't really grab the camera to record it, but I have it pretty much done. The only thing that I'm missing is where I'm going to mount the wastegate, but all that's going to be is just two 90s coming up from each exhaust pipe, merging into the wastegate, and then we're going to dump the wastegate to the floor. So that's no big deal. But let's go ahead and give you guys a rundown. So we have the charge going up to the turbo right there. It's not connected, but it reaches. I just don't have it connected because it's a pain to get on the turbo, because the turbo is just a smidge bigger than what the coupler is asking for. So if we go right here, this is the electric cutout. So I modified it right here by cutting it, modified it down right there by cutting it so I could get as much clearance as I could. And then the electric cut dumps down there to the floor right there. And then we have just the exhaust coming up over long down here to the flex pipe. Maybe it'll be better showing you underneath the car. Yeah, there we go. Over to the flex pipe to the T4 flange, back and couples up to the manifold right there via the V-band. And then for the exhaust for the turbo, you guys already saw the dump. So this thing wraps around right there, goes underneath the power steering. I don't know if I told you guys, but I got a different alternator mount that will move it right up over here where the idler's at, or the tensioner is, sorry. And then there's another tensioner that I got that goes right up underneath it. So the belt's going to wrap around the power steering pump, come along the idler right there up underneath the water pump, then wrap back around the crank pulley. So we have tons of clearance right there on the crank pulley, tons of clearance right there on the sway bar. Everything's looking good. The thing that worries me right there is down there by the exhaust, there's that block, the square block coming off of the engine. So maybe I can show you guys right here. There we go. There's that square block coming off the engine that the exhaust doesn't really want to clear, so I'm going to have to cut that off. And then I just have to connect the exhaust going to the actual exhaust out the back of the car. And then we have this little muffler that I'm going to put on the back so it's nice and quiet. And that's pretty much it. So the coolant lines do clear. I'll go ahead and show you guys that. So there's one coolant line. I'm actually using the truck thermostat housing because my other one was straight coming off of it and it ran into the turbo. And then here is a coolant line. If we could plug this thing in real quick, show you guys. There we go. So if we look right here, it's touching the turbine housing, but if we push it just a little bit and bolt it to the block somewhere, it'll actually clear the housing and clear the thermostat housing as well. So I will have to modify these coolant lines just a little bit, but overall I'm really happy with how everything turned out. And now all I gotta do is pull the engine, cut off that block on the side, bolt on the oil pan that had my coworker Chris weld up for me. He welded the 10AN oil return bung for the turbo. And what else? Oh yeah, I'm going to do the cam and valve springs that came out of the other engine. I was going to do a sloppy stage 2, but I'm just going to try to run with the cam that I have and see what happens. So yep, that's pretty much it. I'm going to get the wastegate done, and then we'll start pulling this apart, get it all cleaned up really nice and neat, and then start slapping it all back together for the final assembly. Okay, I'm moving right along on building this wastegate. This is the last thing of the system, so here it is right here. And first of all, the flange and the turbo are both divided, so that means that you have exhaust coming from this way in, and you have exhaust coming from this way in, and it has a wall split right here. So if I put a pipe on like so for the wastegate, just like a single pipe, and then I merge the other one to it, that means that the exhaust gases are going to transfer over and it would be pointless. So what I'm doing is I have this right here lined up with the turbo, and then I'm going to actually cut out a piece of sheet metal to go right in between here, and that will essentially create a wall on each side of the exhaust gases. So when we go to connect the wastegate, everything will be divided like such. So when I piece these together, it doesn't quite fit. Well, I mean, it fits great on the exhaust manifolds, but let me get this thing together real quick. Show you guys. Okay, here it is. And when we go to put it on the exhaust, it goes like so, and that's where the wastegate's going to mount. But if we look down here, you can see that there's a big gap right there, but notice how it's perfectly straight. So I should be able to just fit a piece of sheet metal in there, cut it out to the shape, and that will cover the hole. And same thing goes for there. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be too bad. I will show you guys the finished product when I get it all banged out. So let me get to it. Okay, here it is. That's exactly what I was talking about with the center section divided. There's the plate. I just have to finish cutting it, and then I can weld it all up and take the grinder to it and clean it. So it's gonna sit just like this right here. So here it is, all welded. Still smoking hot, but come up here, absolutely perfect. So yep, time to grind. Okay, here it is all pieced together. I cut off the tip of the exhaust for the wastegate, just so it can clear the ground. Here's the piece that I made. So if we look in there, there's the wall divided. Look inside there, it's divided. And it comes up to the split right at the wastegate. And then put it, ooh, hold on. It's going to go on the car. Should be right around there, and that's pretty much how it's going to be. So straighten it out a little bit. The wastegate don't hang down too low, so it's about half an inch below the flex pipe. So looks like everything's working out. So I'm going to go ahead and just tack this guy on there so I can mark the holes like how this one is, and then get it to fit really good. And then what else? I think that's it. Then I just gotta take it all back apart so I can finish welding this and yeah, all that stuff. So let's get to it. All right, so I got the bumper just fitting pretty loose, so it just needs to get tightened up. But I need to add a couple of little tabs to bolt it in up here. I had to cut off quite a bit from this bottom side just to get the clearance needed right over here on each side of the intercooler, and same thing with the top of it. But yeah, everything's fitting really well. The wastegate's really close to the intercooler, it's really close to the turbo, but it's not touching either of them, so that's great. And the rest of it looks good. So I'm going to tear it apart completely, make everything nice and clean and pretty, and I'll just make this quick.